Welcome back to Music News Mondays. Let's get on it. A Perfect Circle announced, well, actually, not the whole band, but the guitarist and one of the founding members, Billy Howardell. He announced on behalf of the band that A Perfect Circle will be releasing a new album in 2017. So it's not like the Tool albums where they say they're going to be releasing an album but never give a date. At least there's a year in this. I've been waiting on the new Tool album for the last 130 years. And the last APC, or Perfect Circle, album was released in 2004. It was 13 years ago. That was longer than most band careers last. That's saying something. In a press release that was sent out on March 30th, it was shown that A Perfect Circle had signed a new record deal with BMG for their 4th studio album. So that's interesting. You don't often hear of a major band of that magnitude signing a new record label. If they do, it's kind of quiet and swept under the rug, so to speak. It'll be interesting to see how that plays off of what Maynard's doing with the new Tool album. That's a lot of work and a lot of stress to put on one person's shoulders. 2 massively successful bands and having to write lyrics and do the recording and all the intricacies that come with each band, because APC and Tool, those are 2 different bands. I mean, there are similarities. You can hear artistic similarities in them, but they're very different at the same time. So I'll be interested to see how the lyrical content and, in general, the structure comes across in the new Tool songs whenever that album is released, if it's ever released, compared to the new A Perfect Circle album that'll be released this year. So be on the lookout for that. While performing in Leeds, England, Ghost's frontman Papa Emeritus, however you want to say it, I don't care, the 3rd, fell off the stage. And this is like the, probably 3rd or 4th time that he's fallen down. He has a habit of falling down on the stage, it seems. There was one time he was wearing his full robe and not his dressed down outfit, I guess you could say, that he's been wearing. But he was wearing his full robe and there was a beach ball or something on the stage. He went to kick it and his foot was standing on the robe, and the foot that he went to kick with obviously left the stage, and it caused him to slip backwards and he busted his ass. And then whenever they were on tour with Iron Maiden, which I actually think this tour that he fell on just a few days ago is also with Iron Maiden. Maybe don't tour with Iron Maiden if that's the case. But anyway, whenever he was touring with Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden has the stage set up in their own way. It's got like these cutouts in it and holes and stuff for their performance. And Papa was backing up and fell into one of those holes. You can find the video on that. But just the other day, he fell again. He was at the front of the stage, and I watched the video, and I'll link the video down below. And he had one foot on the monitor, and they were singing Mummy Dust, which that's actually one of my favorite songs from them. He went to stand up on the monitor, try to do this power pose. He lost his balance and fell off the front. And he actually landed on his feet, and it's a pretty high stage. I mean, it looked to be at least a 4.5 to 5 foot stage. So I'm sure that stung his legs a little bit, but it's a good thing he landed on his legs. I guess Dave Grohl landed on his legs and it broke, but whatever. He fell off the stage. He came out unscathed. Some of the things are saying that Satan broke his fall. Okay. To revisit Maynard James Keenan on April Fool's Day. Hate April Fool's Day. It's a stupid holiday. It shouldn't, just ridiculous. Anyway, on April Fool's Day, Tool's Facebook page released a thing that I actually thought was quite hilarious. And it reads, Maynard James Keenan gives Sammy Hagar the wheel. In an effort to nudge the things forward in what seems to be an endless music writing process, touched on that a little bit ago, Maynard James Keenan has enlisted the help of Sammy Hagar to temporarily replace him as the vocalist for the slow-moving, internationally recognized rock monster truck Tool. Interesting choice of adjectives. There seems to be this invisible speed limit we've been holding ourselves to, I believe. Sammy can help us get all pistons firing and break some sound barriers, Keenan went on to say. Sammy is the only vocalist I'm aware of that was able to take an already established Van Halen an even greater distance. Hopefully this shift will help speed things along. got to be careful with that. Sammy Hagar, you know, he can't drive 55, so you gotta look after that. I don't want a speeding ticket. Expensive. I actually thought that was pretty funny. And then there's a picture of Sammy Hagar and Maynard sitting down enjoying some wine and what appears to be sushi. I like sushi and wine. They seem like they'd be a couple of cool guys to sit down with, especially Maynard. Sammy Hagar is one of those guys you'd probably sit down with him and the party would get started and he'd wake up a week later without a memory. Rammstein are going to be releasing their 7th studio album. I'm pretty excited about this. Richard Krusp, the guitarist of Rammstein, one of them, he's usually stage left, said in an interview that they have 35 songs almost finished. That's a lot of songs. And one thing that a lot of people don't quite understand is when a band, especially the size of Rammstein, is writing for an album, when the album comes out, it may have 11 to 15 songs on it, but you may not think that originally those 11 to 15 were chosen out of a list of 20 to 40. Personally, I don't write that many songs and then pick through them. I prefer to release the majority of the songs that I write. That's just my process. But Rammstein has 35 songs almost finished and 6 that they feel are really good. That must be pretty critical. That's a pretty bad ratio. And of course, Rammstein is releasing, or has released, I'm not quite sure, Rammstein Paris, which will be kind of like what they released years ago, Volkerball, or Wolkerball, was a cinematic live performance of a couple shows blended together. It says, Rammstein Paris looks to be the band's most refined live concert experience to date. The heavily cinematic 2-hour show is visual almost to the point of being a horror film, with the video for Volt oder das Wird in Flammen sehen featuring distortion over frontman Till Lindeman's face and fireworks in the singer's hands. That's nice. They don't have a release date for the new album, which kind of sucks because you never know if it'll come out this year or if it'll come out 5 years from now. But Richard Krusp and Paul Landers, the 2 guitarists of Rammstein, said it was worth the wait, so maybe I have to wait a little longer. And it'll be the latest full-length release from Rammstein since 2009. It'd be, you know, a perfect circle going from 2004 or 2003 or whenever it was, and Rammstein going to 2009. It must be rough being in a band to be able to go multiple years without releasing an album. And not only do you maintain your popularity, but you actually grow. There are bands busting their ass to put out an album a year who are tanking. It's an upside down world we live in. Which brings me to the last story, which is Jason Newsted, the former bassist of Metallica, talking about why he ended his self-named band Newsted back in 2014. He did a recent interview where they asked him about it, and he said that it was a good and bad thing having that band going. He said there was a couple things that were very good, and then there were a couple things that were very bad. When it came down to the money stuff and just having to wear all the hats and doing the writing, singing, playing, and paying for everything, it was just too much of a load. And that is incredibly true, especially with almost all up-and-coming musicians in today's industry. The industry has changed so much. I mean, people think that YouTube is changing with their new algorithms and their new way of doing things and their non-communication with creators or whatever, and blend that with the changes of the music industry, and being a musician is a struggle anymore. You know, we try to make a living the best that we can, but it does get harder. But it's understandable that Jason Newsted shut down the band Newsted, because if it's financially too hard, you know, he said that he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars touring in Europe out of his own pocket. One, it'd be rough to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. But 2, you have to be smart about what you're doing. If you're in a band or you're doing anything, I mean, a band is a business. And if you own a business or you're working for a business and that business is losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, then that's not sustainable. So it's better to accept what you learn and move forward, which is what he said. He said that the major benefit was the lessons that he learned while touring with Newsted. I'm sure he learned a lot of lessons touring with Metallica too, you know, only one of the biggest metal bands in history, but whatever. If you want to see more Music News Mondays, then subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, it's at Stenosis Music. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Visit stenosismusic.net to see all the updates on there. And we'll see you next time. Stop.